If you've ever wondered why you don't know a lot of Alabama history, look no further than Marie Bankhead Owen. She was a powerful agent of revisionist history and made sure that some of Alabama's most important stories were never told, until they were eventually never spoken. A good handful of those being ones that I made it a mission to share. In the 1900s, she was known for lobbying the Alabama legislature. She served as the second director of the Alabama Department of Archives and History. The department was created with her husband's antebellum artifacts. When he passed, she was able to take over the department due to her family's influence and power. She would be the director for over 35 years. This was largely in part to her father and her brother, John and John Jr., who were U.S. senators, as well as her brother, William Bankhead, who was the Speaker of the House during FDR's New Deal. Marie was not a good figure, as she was so racist that she didn't even want women to get the right to vote, simply because it meant that black Alabamians would also get that opportunity at some point. And she ran the Women's Anti-Ratification League, because she thought that empowering women, black or white, would lead to the dismantling of her influence. She was very public about her goals, which was preserving the culture, the history, and the symbols of the Confederacy, and completely eliminating any trace of Reconstruction in Alabama. Forcefully, even if it meant revising history itself, which is what she did. She not only leveraged the American government to pay for the archives building, but her power rose. She ended up guiding Alabama history curricula, and she wrote some of the first textbooks covering state history. These books openly sympathized the Confederacy and omitted contributions from blacks and minorities. They relished in the state's resources before the Civil War and revised history to fit untrue, racist antebellum narratives. In 1936, she became the leader of Alabama's Daughters of the Confederacy, and this has had lasting impacts on the state of Alabama since. She organized a campaign to do away with anti-Confederate lessons. She got chapter presidents to go to schools and interrogate teachers, principals, and superintendents. She also sought for Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee to be seen as heroes, as well as removing Uncle Tom's Cabin from classrooms, renaming the Civil War the War Between the States, and pressuring publishers to include Confederate propaganda. At this point, the United Daughters of the Confederacy pushed this throughout the South, and it stuck. The damage that Marie Owen did throughout the South and Alabama can be seen through the ideologies that have been passed down about the antebellum way of life, and the upholding of Confederate culture as Southern heritage. Her goal was to delegitimize Reconstruction throughout the South, the same way that her father and her brothers did when creating the Alabama Constitution of 1901. Some of her more public attempts were recreating the Alabama Seal, creating the Alabama Coat of Arms, and the slogan, "We dare defend our rights," which was rooted in supremacy. And because of the combination of her power, her omissions, and her revisions, it's the reason why people today still don't know Alabama history. And that's a willing and unwilling ignorance that's been passed down through generations. She continued her mission all the way up into the age of 88. And a bronze bust of her still sits in the Alabama Department of Archives and History. And it serves as a reminder of the disproportionate use of her power and agency resources to revise Confederate history, while also using her power and agency resources to ignore the blacks and minorities of Alabama. Marie cultivated the enthusiasm behind Confederate flags, monuments, and iconography. And even worse, false knowledge. And her influence, along with the United Daughters of the Confederacy, can be seen in what's taught and what isn't taught as well. You can see it in the Alabama legislature at times. You can still see it in Alabama education. You can see it in the way that some towns refuse to even reckon with their past. And you can see it in what we don't know and why we're still learning things to this day about this state. And how the people from this state and the events that took place shaped an entire country for the good and for the bad. There's a lot of work to be done to undo the damage that people like Marie Owen caused. But it's work that can be done and completed. It starts by being willing to listen, to change, and then fix it.